So now we're going to go to the Q&A. So we have some more. Okay. So Mads is going to muss them all up. So what we've got here is there's, I think, 28, 29 questions, something like that in the basket. And we're going to, we'll just go along the line and I will take out a question and read it. And the candidate will have 1 minute with the Kiwi call to mark that 1 minute to answer that question how they would like to. Each candidate has also been given 2 wildcards. So if you hear a question that you really want to answer, please feel free to give me one of your wildcards and you get to speak to that question as well. And so this will be, hopefully we'll get through 3 or 4 questions each. If it goes really fast and we run out, we'll put the questions back in the basket. And so you might get several people answering the same question. Okay, that's totally clear? Everyone's got an idea of how you use your wildcard? Yep, okay, so I will take a question and we're going to start with you, Daniel. Oh, I just dropped one here, Nat. Okay, so do you support ratepayer money going into the biodiversity grant scheme that Horizons currently runs? Why or why not? So do you support ratepayer money going into the biodiversity grant scheme? Why or why not?
So I guess following on from the last spectrum, let's say, I would strongly agree with that. If we really live by our principles as Kiwis, as New Zealanders, as citizens of this country or residents, however we may stand, our land is our future, and without our biodiversity, we wouldn't be here. We actually rely on our species, every single one of them. Without, let's say, the spider or the ant, we would probably lose our entire ecosystem. So if we consider things in this perspective, I strongly agree with that statement.
Excellent. If you pass the microphone to Wiramu. Oh, no, we've got a wild card from Fiona. Take your wild card off you.
Oh, thank you. Surprise. Those that know me will know exactly why I stood up to talk to this. So look, when it comes to biodiversity and particularly around the priority habitats, I feel really strongly about this being a public good matter. When we talk about our priority habitat sites, we're talking about essentially, sadly, museum pieces. If these particular sites are not cared for and not just maintained but enhanced into the future, they will be gone. And of course, we all know what that means for ecosystem loss, biodiversity loss. So this is hugely important. Currently, there are landowner relationships that help these projects on these sites exist. So I think it's only fair that for the greater good, just like we would with other areas for greater good, that we can all make a contribution towards this incredibly important work. So that's why I'd like to say, yes, I would thoroughly support that. And I think in the 6 years I've been at Council, the contestable fund for biodiversity grants, I was one of the key proponents for that. I'm very proud of the work that we've managed to achieve over that time, with something over close to 100 different groups participating in that fund.
Thank you. So if there's no more wild cards, we'll go to Wiramu and I'll pull out a question. Okay, flood protection tends to rely on hard engineering structures with little regard for the impacts on the aquatic biodiversity. How could Horizons better integrate biodiversity into flood protection works?
Someone who's been flooded twice, 2004 and 2015, I know what it's like. It's a hard, sometimes you have to make some hard decisions. And if those banks, I'll give you an example, over Hokowhitu, it got passed by one vote in 2004 to take it up that much. And if they didn't do that, the whole of Hokowhitu would have been flooded. So you can see we have to make sure those things are kept safe. Could you imagine the cost to the country if Hokowhitu and all those poor people got flooded? So yes, whether we like it or not, it's something we have to keep in mind. And we can't do everything. We can only try our hardest. Kia ora.
Thanks, Wiramu. Okay.
So I've been involved in these flood schemes around the region for 20 years. They're the most amazing flood schemes. They're world leading and they give us a great result. So I would challenge it to say that we are incorporating biodiversity in here at the moment. I've witnessed where we've been putting fish ladders and passageways in the schemes as we upgrade them. So we're doing a really good job at the moment. So I would suggest we need to keep what we're doing, just gradually, and over time we'll really make some difference. But our flood schemes are amazing.
Great. Thank you. All right, no more wildcards? Jono, do you believe Horizons has a role for improving safety for cyclists and walkers?
Well, as a cyclist and a walker, I don't actually. I think there's a little bit of a role for us to play in terms of road safety awareness. We look after that for the region. In terms of actually the role of the infrastructure that encourages that, it's not necessarily our role to play. I absolutely support it being done, don't get me wrong. I just think it's outside the lane of Horizons and probably sits better with the territorial authorities and or government funding. But yeah, probably outside of what is our normal day-to-day stuff.
Okay, thank you. Right, over to Emma. Right, Emma, what are the most pressing policy challenges facing Horizons?
Instability, essentially. So instability from changing RMA policies, instability from whether there's even got to be local government, and instability on ever-changing water quality limits and levels, and yeah, just instability is really hard to go. Do we keep planning? Do we stop what we're doing already? Do we plan more? Do we ignore being told to stop planning? What do we do? It's really, really hard to know. So instability is a really big one.
Great, thank you. No wild cards. Oh, okay, this is a fresh off the press, this one, Peter, because it's just come in the door. How do you rationalise balancing the quality of water in the Manawatū River with the need to discharge effluent into it from the populations alongside? Your minute starts.
So look, this is a huge question. Nature's Call proposed 3 years ago that they took 2,000 hectares off the farming community without consultation to put their water on. And I led the group which pushed that back because we weren't consulted. What we should be doing with a lot of the water is we should be putting it on the land, but we should be working with the farmers and consulting them and working with the likes of Fonterra so that land can take the water and have it used. So there are some really good outcomes here, but they've got to be community-based and community communicated.
Thanks, Peter. Right. Fiona, how will you approach the challenge of incorporating long-term strategic thinking in an environment where elected representatives are often rewarded for shiny short-term achievements?
I read this question. I thought it was a great one. I'm not sure that I'm aware of what shiny short-term rewards there have been. That's the first thing I would say. For me, long-term strategic thinking is in everything that I do. So when we do an annual plan, I'm not just thinking about the next 12 months. That's a fine-tune of what we've got planned for the next 10 years. We have to always go back to our long-term vision. Otherwise, we will never actually know if we get there. So look, it's something that I do naturally anyway. I like to think that most councillors around the table already do that as well. But I think it's a very good question because we need to be very mindful of that. It's very easy to take it as a step-by-step process, but forget to look at where you're heading in the longer term. It's incredibly important. It has to be interwoven into all of our decisions every single day.
Thank you. We've got a...
Firstly, I agree with Fiona that I struggle to find the shiny things that Horizons is involved with. And actually, I wanted to stand up and say that I actually take offence to the question, because the implication is that as elected members, we're only motivated by doing things that we think will get us re-elected. And I actually take offence to that on behalf of, actually, I think, all of my colleagues around the council table, because I've, in the 7 years that I've been there, never witnessed anybody doing something on the basis of them trying to get re-elected. And in fact, actually, most of them are taking at least a medium, if not a long-term view on trying to address the issues that we've got. So we differ on how we should go about that. Absolutely, there's differing in that sort of opinion. But no, I just don't buy into the pretext that actually we're just somehow self-serving and wanting to get ourselves re-elected, and that's what motivates us.
Thanks, Jono. No more wildcards. Unu, what could Horizons do better to deliver better environmental outcomes?
I think Horizon, we can work with a healthy water, healthy air, healthy land, and more plantation and sustainable. I have limited knowledge with that my thing, but I'm flexible mindset. I'll bring more research and I'll come back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. No wildcards? All right, so what was that? No, I think he's just returning the microphone to the start of the line again. Okay, so back to you, Daniel. And your question is, when setting budgets, how do you justify prioritising plans that might increase rates? So how will you weigh up competing priorities?
Okay, I mean, I'm experienced enough in setting budgets or through my education to know various strategies for setting budgets, and there's many ways. There's different ways of costing, and I can't explain it all to you right now, but I know as a accounting near graduate, I'm not graduated yet, but I am skilled in the field, and I'll just say the one thing that I've told to everyone along my campaign trail is that I don't want rates to exceed like a rough level of inflation, whether that means inflation is 5%. I don't want the rates to increase by being reasonable here, a number that exceeds that rough number, right? So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Waramu. Okay, Waramu, what role do you see council having in enhancing and protecting biodiversity?
Get out there, do the things, get them done, and keep doing what we're doing. Now, I hear people talking about biodiversity. If we don't do it now, we're just leaving it for our next generation, my mokapunas, and that's what worries me. And you heard I've heard them all say, one of the biggest things we do is look after our environment. That's in my viewpoint, the elephant in the room. And when it comes to costings, everyone says you want your rates down and shooting us in the head for rates. But the reality is, in today's climate, we have to dig in our pockets to pay those things, whether we like it or not. Our forefathers did, and we've been benefiting off that from my grandparents and there. But perhaps it's turnaround time. And I know it's a horrible word to say, but to get things, we need more pūtea. Kia ora.
Thank you, Waramu. To Jono. Jono, how will council deliver on its climate change and sustainability, biodiversity and Manawatū River and transport plans within a tight funding environment? So how do we do all of the things with not much money?
Firstly, can I just say, if it was easy, we'd already be doing it. And that's one of, I think, the challenges in working in this environment. There is not, there is an unlimited source of finance. So Yeah, it is. It is a case about making some tough decisions sometimes and actually having to prioritise. If we put rates up by 100%, we might be able to definitely achieve all of those goals in the way that we want them to, but then none of us really would have a job next time and things would get changed around. So it is, that's contrary to what I just said before, I know, but I did that on purpose. Just in case you were wondering. But the thing I think to remember is actually there is, I think what we have to do is ensure that what we do has the maximum impact that we can. And that does actually mean making some tough choices at times. And that's the only way you can do it. And you've just got to weigh up those priorities. And I guess the question that I always ask myself, is particularly in the space, is yes, there's the price of doing it, but what is the price of not doing it as well?
No wild cards? Okay.
Give me a good one.
They're all good. Emma, what is your understanding of the difference between climate adaptation and climate mitigation?
Okay, so climate mitigation and adaptation. They're both two key strategies for addressing climate change. Mitigation focuses on reducing the of climate change effects by decreasing greenhouse gases and emissions. So that's mitigation is looking at decreasing the things that we're doing to increase climate change. Well, adaptation is adjusting to the current and future effects of climate change to minimise harm. So effectively, adaptation is resilience. So it's building up our communities to be resilient to this climate change, making sure we can weather the storm more than we already can and recover from that.
Thank you. All right, Peter, what are your views on the use of 1080?
So 1080 is a great tool used in the right place. So if we're looking to use it again, we've just got to go with the data. Can we control the pest with anything else? What are the outcomes of if anything goes wrong with the 1080? So look, there are other means to control pests, so it's all about the analysis, but I support 1080 used in the right places with the right amount of data.
Okay, so anyone that knows me know I'm pretty passionate about pest control and building up biodiversity. Nobody likes 1080 or poisons. There's not actually anyone I've ever met that goes, yeah, I really like 1080. However, there are many people out there that know what it takes to control an area and bring down the pest numbers so that biodiversity can thrive. There's lots and lots of areas out there where you can't do that with physical trapping. It's just not possible. However, most of the time we're not using 1080. 1080 needs a new PR campaign, to be honest. A lot of the time we're using brotificum, which is the stuff you buy in your supermarket, and that's mostly what Horizons uses. 1080 is used occasionally, and it is a very, very good tool. We are unique in New Zealand in that we don't have, except for bats, native land mammals, so we can use 1080 where other countries cannot. It definitely has its place, but it is just one tool.
Thank you. Fiona, transportation is the biggest contributor to emissions. How could Horizons increase bus use?
Well, I think firstly I'd say I think we've given it a really good push along for a start in the last 6 years. Increasing bus use, bus use was the question, wasn't it? Buses in particular, because I like the trains topic at the moment as well. But when it comes to buses, look, for me, in working with the committees over the last 6 years, for me it was very much around ensuring that our public transport buses are appealing, that people actually want to get on them. So there's the whole mode shift, and that's got to be in parallel with let's reduce emissions, hence electric bus fleet. Fantastic. But ultimately, I want my kids to walk out the door, and my my grandparents and my parents to say, I'm going to get on that bus today because that's convenient, it's fast, it gets me from A to B. Actually, it's a smart bus to ride, it's comfortable. You know, if my mum's in a wheelchair and she needs to get on it, she can, it's no big deal, and gets me into the city or gets me across town to see a friend if I need to. But it has to be smart, attractive, comfortable, convenient.
Thank you. Oh, were they my ones? No, they're your ones. All right. No wild cards? What were those ones? No. Okay, Munu. There is a lot of change on the horizon coming from central government, which impacts on local government. How can council be prepared for these unknown changes? That's a really good question. I'd like to know the answer to that one if you do have it.
Yeah, I have that one. Yeah.
So what can we do to be prepared for these changes? Don't have numbers on them.
What number?
Oh, I don't have it on here. You could, if someone's quick, they could have a look.
Yeah.
Okay, taking a moment, everyone. And you do have a chance to still submit questions if you'd like to. There's a lot of change on the horizon coming from central government, which impacts on local government.
There
we go.
26, 23.
See, we were a bit mean to these candidates, giving them 29 questions that they had to then prepare for. So,
Sorry about that. We know change is coming from central government, but we can't afford to sit still and wait. Horizon must prepare by using flexible, financial, resilient, and community-driven. If we focus on projects that make sense no matter what, I like protecting our rivers, building flooding resilience, and supporting diversity, then we will be ready for whatever changing comes. Thank you.
Excellent answer. Thank you. Yep.
Yep.
Oh, Whittamu's going to steal?
What was the question again? We don't know what they are. It's flying blind. We've had years of that. But can I say this? Central government tell us today 80% of what we've got to do and leave the other 20% to us. And the way they're going now, they're going to go up to 90%, telling us what to do and let us make 10%. So my biggest problem is stand up for our regional councils and just working with central government. Stuff we're working on at the moment, we don't know, it can be just changed in a stroke of a pen. And there's a lot of good things happening, and so I just want to encourage you on that. Just keep your eyes open for what they're trying to do to us.
Okay. Yeah, so Mads is just reminding me that you can still ask questions. We've probably got enough to go through at least once more or twice more to see how timing goes. So if anyone does want to write anything down, there's some pens as well. All right, so Daniel, back to you. Do you think Horizons should support predator-free initiatives in Palmerston North, and what mechanism could they use to do this?
Okay, so I mean Palmerston North as a city, as far as I know, there's probably some. I mean, there's dogs and cats. So I don't consider them pests. Maybe in the wider region. The question was what to do about pest control, right?
Yeah. Do you support predator-free initiatives?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we should have like possums in excess, and if we can somehow make an initiative to get that under control in whatever means, yeah, that's all I really have knowledge on. That's a danger to to our ecosystems. I know there's plenty other things that could be a danger to our ecosystems, but just making some kind of an initiative is a good thing. Yeah.
Thank you, Daniel. Okay, if you pass to Wiremu, no wildcards there. Okay, Wiremu. The economy is a fully owned subsidiary of the environment, not the other way round. Discuss.
Give up. How can I answer that? Say it again.
The economy is a fully owned subsidiary of the environment, not the other way around. Discuss. That's actually quite a famous quote from someone. Does anyone know who that quote comes from? Yeah. Okay, well, there we go.
Perhaps you should answer. I'm stumped for words. It's unusual for me to be stumped too.
Okay, we're starting the clock, Wiremu.
Okay, quick, what was it again? 3 times, lucky.
The economy is a fully owned subsidiary of the environment, not the other way round. Discuss.
If we want to fix our environment, we need finance. Whether we like it or not, finance makes it move. And if we've got the money to do it, we do it. Kia ora.
Okay, thank you. Yep, so I've got two wildcards. I'll start with you. I'll start with Daniel. Yep.
I'll just ask for the quote again. The environment is not a subsidiary of the economy.
It's the other way around. The
It's the
economy
other
is
way
a
around.
subsidiary of the environment.
Yeah. So basically, we're stewards of the land, right? So whatever the land wants to do to us, we have absolutely no control over it. It's beyond us. If there's an earthquake, if there's a flood, we can't do anything. We have to react to it, and that's the way that everyone understands, right? I don't need to go into any detail there. But I mean, if there's anything that happens to the land, the economy has to adjust. It's not the other way around. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. And if we go to Emma, that's your last one, isn't it?
That is my last one, unless I did another one off John, like I did last one. Okay, so the quote is, the economy is a wholly owned subsidiary of the environment, not the reverse. And it's actually a pretty famous quote by Herman Daly, who was an economist. But he also realised that economic growth and prosperity are actually different things. Economic growth doesn't actually mean prosperity for the communities and the people who are living in there. And our economy relies on our environmental resources. Environmental resources is what Horizons is all about, and we cannot grow our economy infinitely because we don't have infinite environmental resources. And even things like the bees pollinating our crops, that is reliant on nature and our environment.
Thank you. Oh, Jono as well.
I'm just going to use this as a segue to get into something else, to be honest. But it kind of goes without saying, because the economy can only exist inside the environment, right? But what it does, that statement again, highlight to me as I'm discussing it, is I'm really sick of the false dichotomies that exist in our space. Too often we talk about it's the environment versus the economy, or we talk about it's iwi versus farmers, or we talk about town versus country. And there's something kind of really absurd about that if we think about it. Some of the most some of the farms that have won the environmental awards in our region recently are also the most profitable. Actually, most of our iwi groups are also farmers, and they want farms to do well. And actually, town and country have a symbiotic relationship. And I'm really kind of on a bit of an internal, and now coming out to be more of an external campaign to break down the dichotomy so that we can actually have rational conversations about these things rather than actually serving the interests of the people who it is to set those dichotomies up. And actually, this statement provides us a really good place to have that, because actually it all happens within the context of the environment anyway.
Thank you. Good timing. Okay, and the microphone stays with you, Jono. So do you think Horizons has a role in eradication of plastics in clothing and in bottles, or any other plastic products that end up in the landfill, sea or on land?
So obviously through our regulatory practices, we want to make sure that where there's consents required for discharges and all that sort of stuff, that we're not getting plastic into our waterways and that kind of thing. So there's within that regulatory space. Apart from that, I'm not, this is a bit like the last answer I had in this regard, I'm not sure that there's a lot for Horizon specifically to take a leadership role in this area. Absolutely, we support it. As an organisation, you know, we've got to be practising our own sort of waste, dealing with our own waste in a way that's responsible, setting an example. But other than sort of through the consenting and the regulation period, I don't think it's necessarily our role, because we're just not in the waste business per se, and so there's not a lot specifically for us to do other than be good citizens in that regard.
Emma. Emma, so this is a new one, fresh from the audience. Can the electric buses be made free? Oh, can the electric buses be made free for all to control emissions? Did I get that correct? Whoever asked that one? Want me to read it again? Have you got?
No, can electric buses be
made free for all to control emissions? So I think it's saying free bus fares so that you'd get emissions down by getting more people on the buses.
Well, free bus fares for everyone would be amazing, but I'm not sure how economically viable that would be. I was reading a lot about the UAS, so the Unlimited Access Scheme. That's through Massey and our other tertiary providers. So we've got Massey and IPC and the English Teaching College, which are amazing. And actually, I did use the bus a lot more when I was at Massey, and I want to explain why I didn't stand up when I had a B card. So I walk a lot. I don't take a bus, I walk. But I realise that there's lots of people who, for walking long distances, is not ideal, and so the buses are really important. But I also used it as a way to look at how the process might be holding people back. So I thought, well, actually, how do I get a B card? And so I started to look into it and like, oh, I've either got to go into eyesight or I've got to apply online and I've got to pay my $5 and wait for it to turn up. And so that sort of made me think, well, I mean, it's not hard, but could it be easier?
Thank you.
Kia ora, kia ora. So basically this would be the dream. I think I actually talked to a bus driver today. I said, how's your day? He said, quiet. I said, why? He says, there's no one on the bus. So I'm serious. And he said he was driving empty buses. So if we get more people on buses, this means less people in cars. And we can actually use the electric buses, which are 100% electric, right? So they're not burning any fossil fuels. I mean, surely there's some marginally being used indirectly, but it's 100% electric. And if we rely on electric rather than on fossil fuels, we can get our emissions down and we can actually contribute towards a, not necessarily a carbon zero, but a carbon neutral of some order. So that's my answer.
Thank you. Who are we up to, Peter? All right, Peter, soft plastic recycling. We don't have this in Palmerston North. In your opinion, what are the reasons for this and how can this be changed? I don't know, it's quite a Horizons question, but...
Look, I think all forms of recycling are good. I have no idea how we can get it here in Palmerston North. I would support it if we can fund it.
Good answer, thank you. There's no wildcards. Fiona, lucky you get one fresh from the audience. Why aren't there young people standing as candidates for local government elections?
Firstly, we're all grievously offended. How young's young? Look, we're all young at heart, right? You know, what can I say? Look, I wouldn't even just go so far as only about young people, but actually we just broadly need more people involved and wanting to vote in our local elections, full stop. So yes, there's the young folk side of it. Look, I think everyone has a responsibility here. If we want local government, then we need to be out there making local decisions and supporting people that are prepared to step up and serve the community. So that's number one. Look, you know, in terms of what's involved, I don't think there's any particular course that teaches you what, you know, around civic education. What would that look like? You know, are kids hearing from us or their teachers and other areas, you know, you could leave school and you could be off on this journey? I don't think so. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So I think, look, we have a job is to show what great work can be done when we get in these sorts of positions, but we all have a role to tell our kids to get out there and vote and be one of us.
Thank you. To me.
Monu, how can we improve health and water quality of our waterways? So how can we improve the health and water quality of our waterways? Sorry, I don't have numbers on these. If someone could help Munu with the number.
I believe we need focus on reducing pollution at shores. It could be by working with farmers to manage the pesticide and herbicides and move forward to more organic ways of farming. Council can implement the registration and natural habit by protecting wetland, planting native trees, which will naturally filter the pollution, and also help in the flooding control while restoring the environment. It also important to farm and implement stronger regulation and complements to ensure our natural resources are protected. So that's my research.
Thank you. Just pass the mic back to the start. We've got time for one more line of questions.
Oh, cool.
And we've got plenty of questions here. There's been some great ones from the audience. This is a question, Daniel, about our joint climate action plan. How important is that plan, and what priority would you give to ensuring the identified actions are resourced or implemented?
So this is just me being honest here. I haven't done no preparation for this, so I haven't read the Joint Climate Action Plan. But if there is one, I'm all for it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Any wild cards on that one? Oh.
Only one with a card.
Might have to try and beg, borrow, or
All right.
steal one. Okay, so we'll go to Wiremu. Wiremu, your next question.
Hello. I might swap back here.
So, Wiremu, what role can ENM play in supporting council's objectives?
Get more involved.
We've got a wild card down the end.
Thank you so much. Don't worry, I'm the young here. I have fully potential and energy. So I have a different objects. Council cannot achieve climate diversity and water goals on their own. You're right, we have to come everyone together. And climate change is borderless, and the solution should be not be limited to one aspect. ENM is our community engine room with 60 plus local environmental and sustainability group across the Manawatū. It mobilizes people, delivers project on the ground, and makes sure changing is owned by the community. And ENM leads public engagement and awareness, campaign, workshop, and citizen science. This support Horizon objects the shift behavior, reducing waste, protecting waterways, and cutting emission, provided trusted local faces to spread sustainability message more then eventually then council alone by yeah. So
Thank you.
lots of work here. That's the thing. Thank you.
Thanks, Munu. Mad's actually said to me, here's the Kiwi call, but don't make her stop. She wanted to hear more about. No, I think we're up to you, Jono.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
nice try, no cigar.
Okay, Jono, your turn for one from the audience. As we can see, environmental protection is a science-based job. So how to ensure to make right decisions with limited knowledge?
Yeah, I guess that's one of the things, isn't it, that we just actually need to keep increasing our knowledge base. I know that's something that I've been personally committed to over the last little while. I guess as somebody who drank the Kool-Aid of other philosophies for probably too long in my life, and then started paying attention to some of the science, you know, I can only vouch for the fact that it's really, really important. And I think one of the challenges that I see politicians making is, and we're seeing a lot of that at the moment coming from that lot in Wellington, is that they're being driven by ideology and being driven by a bunch of stuff without actually following the research. And I think there's something that is, we've got great science teams, there is good science out there. And actually one of the things I really love about being on the regional council is we can measure most of the stuff that we do, which is actually really satisfying. You can put a test tube in the river, is it getting better? You can model flood protection, say, is the stop bank high enough? That kind of stuff. So actually that's a little bit of a side step. But look, knowledge is king, and we've just got to make sure we get as much of it as we can.
You're right. Okay, Emma, question for you. Why should Palmerston North Ratepayers contribute to the SLUI program? So SLUI stands for Sustainable Land Use Initiative, and it's about planting our hills to keep the dirt on the hills.
So this is actually a good
Sorry.
question. I like this question. I didn't know about SLUI until I started standing for Horizons. So I've read a lot about SLUI now, and it's great. So SLUI is an initiative where planting the headwaters of river valleys. So it's great bang for buck. So it does several things. It increases stability of the land, so it's stopping slips and erosion. And it also builds up biodiversity because we're planting forests and trees and building out the biodiversity underneath. But it also helps with flood protection. So we're holding the water into the land, and it releases it slowly rather than everything whooshing down in one big go. So it's actually really, really good bang for buck, and it's future-proofing, and it's helping us in several different ways. So ratepayers should absolutely be into it, and I'd be keen to really be pushing for maybe a bit more of it.
Cool.
You're up with it, Jono.
No wildcards. Oh, you want to use your wildcard?
No, you've got to hand that thing over, mate, in case you whip it out again.
Jeepers.
Yeah.
Get the wild card police here.
We are friends. What was the question?
I don't know, I've forgotten. SLUI. Tell us about SLUI and why
Okay.
it's good for Palmy.
My background is farm forestry, and I spent 3 years at forestry school up in Rotorua, and spent 9 years in the government, and then went out private contracting. And I had 25 staff working for me when we were at our peak, and we were planting something like 1.5 million trees a season. And this is when they were doing joint ventures with farmers and things like that, and overseas investors. But it is a good thing. Why I say that for you city folk? Because if you don't do it, guess where the silt's going to come down the hill and along to the river and up and going to catch you fellas out. Now I know it is a good thing. So although I'm not in planting trees in good productive land, and that's something we need to look at, and with houses. Kia ora, don't start me off.
Thank you, Wiramo. All right, Peter. Oh, sorry, Munu's got a wild card.
Thank you for the opportunity. Palmerston North taxpayers should support sustainability land use initiatives, and because it's environment and clean river, reduced flood risks, climate resilience, and regional prosperity. While the visible work happen on the farm, on the benefit flow downstream into the city, protecting homes, infrastructure, and quality of life, even though return of the Sului program may not visible in the short run, we need to invest in our future generation. Thank you.
Okay, Peter, I've got your question here, again from the audience. So, from your campaigning experience, what are the most important political issues in this election from the people you have talked to, and are environmental issues on the list?
That's a very good question from the audience. So what resonates with me a lot when I'm talking to people is rates. Our rates, especially for my businesses, have got to the unaffordable state. But for the environment, flood protection protects my farm and business. You get 500 years protection in the city here from flood protection. So that's a hugely important environmental aspect. And you get a lot of talk about buses in Featherston Street. Now, I've owned a property in Featherston Street, and I'd have to say the changes have been quite catastrophic for those businesses. But Featherston Street is not a Horizons issue. Buses, I get a lot of comments on the buses being empty, and I say, well, I thought they were too, but I've talked to these good candidates here at the meeting, and they tell me they're really full at times. So, rates, buses, and Featherston Street are probably the three things that I hear the most about.
Thank you. Fiona. Right, Fiona, again from the audience. Without money, we cannot protect our environment well. How do you see this statement? So without money, we cannot protect our environment well.
Without money, we can still protect our environment, actually. The economy doesn't tell us actually what to do. We can choose differently. I mean, that's a whole nother, way more than a minute to explain that one. So one thing that I have been talking with people about is affordability. I think it's actually one of the key challenges we've got ahead of us. And it's affordability while we retain the gains that we've made. And for me, that is very much about protecting the investment that this entire community has made to date in the environment that we enjoy. So an example would be the priority habitat sites for biodiversity. A huge amount of investment has gone into the science, into the on-the-ground work, working with landowners, investing in fences, planting, etc. That's a lot of money, but it's a lot of time, energy that's gone into that as well. And that's from our community. You've paid for that. So I think affordability, money, yeah, but you know what? Money doesn't get you anything by itself either. You have to have someone doing the work.
Yep, this is the last question, so if you've still got a wild card in your hand, this will be your last chance to use it. Munu, what do you think is the biggest environmental challenge facing our region? So what is the biggest environmental challenge?
I would say flood, because we have the lovely Manawatū River, and it's really nice we're having those. And I think in my view, flood and temperature is rising, and yeah, all those. Anyone to add?
Great, thank you. Anyone got a wild card they want to use? Last chance, Peter.
You don't.
No, can't use it again.
So I started in my initial thing. Efficiency is our biggest challenge. If we lose Horizons, we're losing the one institution which looks after the environment in this region. The other thing that's really challenging is we've got climate change. As I said, Palmerston North's got 500-year flood protection. We've got to manage that so that we keep it. So we've got to always be looking at climate change and how we can improve and mitigate against it.
Great, thank you. Okay, right, that's us. Oh, Fiona, you want to use your wild card? Okay.
May as well use it. Got to wait for 3 years to try and campaign again. May as well enjoy it while I can. So I'm going to somehow move the topic to kind of around. There was a question that I didn't hear asked tonight, and that was about what you might particularly want to focus on in the next 3 years. There was a question like that. So I'm just going to put it out there that, along with all the challenges and what are the key environmental challenges, the top of the list. I mean, I'll put it straight out there. We've got a load of environmental challenges. I really don't like the idea of fine-tuning it down to one in terms of a list. So for me, a priority will be biodiversity. We've got a long way to go. But when I mentioned earlier about protecting the investment this community's made, I think about Totara Reserve and Te Apiti. And I can see already the huge amount of difference this community's investment has made in those places, with rat numbers and possum numbers hugely reduced. We're actually now, this community, your investment, means we're in a position to start considering seriously reintroduction of species that were once there and have since gone. So I'll leave you with that thought.